My name is Elise, I'm 34, and I think I'm forgetting who I am. I don't mean in some poetic, whimsical way. I mean in a real, sobering, I can't hear my own voice kind of way. I look in the mirror and I see my face, sure, the lines I swore I'd never obsess over, the faint scar above my lip from when I fell off my bike in 7th grade, but I don't feel like me. Not lately. Not for a while, actually. I've been with Marcus for 11 years. Married for 7. For a long time, I thought we had one of those rare things, a love that was both soft and wild. We were the couple people rolled their eyes at, the ones who kissed in the cereal aisle, who took spontaneous weekend trips just to chase fog, who slow danced in the kitchen even when the music was just the fridge humming. We had this gravitational pull between us. Sex was never a promise, it was a language. Our language. But things don't die all at once, do they? It's not like I woke up one day and hated him. It's more like I started shrinking to fit the spaces he stopped showing up for. Lately, when Marcus kisses me, it's like his mouth is searching for a memory of who I used to be, or worse, who he used to be with me. His lips brush mine and there's no hunger, no ache, just duty. He holds me at night like he's containing something, like my body is a fence post in a storm. It used to be desire. Now it feels like possession. Last week, he wrapped his arms around me from behind while I was washing dishes. His chin rested on my shoulder, and I froze. I used to lean into those moments. Melt into them. This time, I felt myself stiffen, not out of fear, but resistance. I didn't want to be held like that. I didn't want to be touched like a placeholder. I miss you, he murmured. I almost laughed. I was right there, soaked in dishwater and obligation, and he missed me. It's not all him. I've changed, too. Somewhere between refinancing the mortgage, my father's 3rd round of chemo, and trying to pretend I still want sex that leaves me feeling lonelier than before, I stopped recognizing my own heartbeat. I used to write poetry, essays, scraps of things I never showed anyone. Now I write grocery lists and passive-aggressive notes to myself about how I need to stop pretending everything is okay. The hardest part is that I still love him. I do. That's what makes it so unbearable. If he were cruel, or careless, or cheating, there'd be something to push against. But he's just here. Present in body. Absent in soul. And I'm grieving something I can't bury. It all came into focus the night my father asked me to move back home for a while. It wasn't dramatic. He was in his recliner, his skin papery and his voice barely above a whisper. Just for a bit, he said. Could use the company. And your mother's recipes. I miss your cooking. He didn't say it, but I could hear what he meant. He didn't want to die alone. And I said yes. Not just because he's my father. But because somewhere deep down, I wanted an excuse. I wanted out. Not forever. Just out. Space. Breath. Time to hear myself think without Marcus's silence scraping up against it. That night, Marcus barely looked up when I told him. He nodded and said, okay. Let me know what you need. Like I was leaving for a yoga retreat or a weekend with girlfriends. No fight. No questions. No protest. And I think that's when I knew. Not when the kisses turned into polite pecks, or when the sex started to feel like a sad rehearsal. Not when I stopped writing, or when I realized I dreaded bedtime because it meant sharing a mattress with someone I couldn't reach. No. It was that moment, when I gave him a way to lose me, and he took it without flinching. That's when something in me cracked open. And now I don't know how to put it back. Marcus came up to visit the second weekend I was at my father's place. I'd spent those first 10 days falling into old rhythms, folding laundry in the den while Dad napped, walking the cracked sidewalk past our childhood library, trying to remember how to be quiet in a house that always felt louder when Mom was alive. I cooked him lentil soup, clipped his toenails, helped him in and out of the bath. I'd been on the edge of crying for days, but nothing ever spilled. Marcus showed up around noon with a bag of groceries and a bottle of wine I used to love. He kissed me at the door, long and eager, like a man reclaiming his wife. But I stiffened, again. I was still wearing the oversized flannel I slept in, my hair pulled back and frizzy. I hadn't showered. I smelled like Vicks and chicken broth. I wasn't ready to be wanted. I needed to be seen. "Hi," I said, my voice too small. "Missed you," he said, his hands moving around my waist. "You look tired." "Thanks," I said, pulling away and taking the grocery bag from him. "He's sleeping." Marcus followed me into the kitchen, chatting about his week. Something about a colleague at the university, he's an adjunct professor, history, and how the department's budget cuts were creating chaos. I nodded along, stirring the soup I'd been reheating for Dad. He kissed the back of my neck while I leaned over the stove, and instead of feeling close, it felt like static, intrusive, mismatched. When Dad woke up and shuffled into the kitchen, the conversation changed. Marcus was charming, attentive. He helped my father to his chair, complimented my cooking, made small talk about the Cubs. I watched them, my past and present sitting at the table together, and I felt completely, unbearably alone. Later that night, after Dad went to bed, Marcus tried again. We were in the guest room, which I'd been using as my space. I was already in bed, thumbing through a dog-eared novel. He came in shirtless, freshly showered, and slid under the covers beside me. His hand landed on my hip, fingers drifting under the waistband of my sleep shorts. "Come here," he murmured, kissing my neck. I didn't move. My body felt like it was made of concrete. "Marcus," I said softly. He froze. His hand stilled, but it didn't leave me. "What?" "I don't think I can, tonight." He rolled onto his back. "You haven't been able to any night." I sat up, hugging my knees. "It's not about that. I'm exhausted." "He's coughing all night." "I barely sleep, you could have called. Or let me come sooner." "You just left. And now when I try to be close, you act like I'm asking too much." "I'm not acting, Marcus. You are asking too much." That hung in the air like smoke. He sat up too, swinging his legs over the edge of the bed. "I don't know how to help you if you won't let me." "I don't need help," I whispered. "I need to feel like I matter when I'm not naked." He flinched, just slightly. "That's not fair." "No. What's not fair is that you only reach for me when I'm falling apart. When was the last time we talked, really talked, without it leading to this?" He turned back to face me. His jaw was tight. "This is how I show love, Elise. I don't know what you want from me. I want you to see me. I want you to sit on the floor with me and let me cry about how I'm losing my dad. I want you to hold my heart, not just my body." His face was unreadable. "I drove 3 hours to be here. I brought you wine." I didn't ask for wine, Marcus," I said. "I asked you to see me." He stood then, pulling on his shirt in silence. "I'll sleep on the couch." I watched him leave without looking back. And all I could think was how loud the door sounded when it clicked shut, like something final. Like the misunderstanding wasn't a bump, but the road itself. Marcus came back the next weekend like nothing had happened. He brought tulips this time. Yellow, my favorite. Or at least they used to be. "They had every color," he said, holding them out like a peace offering. "But these reminded me of your kitchen window in Chicago." I took them. Smiled. Said thank you. The memory landed somewhere in my throat but didn't travel down. I put them in a mason jar and set them on the counter. They looked too bright for the room. That night, we tried to play normal. We made spaghetti, watched half a movie, something stupid and loud, with explosions and bad one-liners. He laughed too hard. I laughed too little. When I stood to clear the dishes, he slapped my butt playfully. A habit. A reflex. I flinched. Sorry, he said quickly. Just being stupid. It's fine, I muttered, stacking plates in the sink. I just wasn't expecting it. He stood behind me for a moment. I felt him hover, that anxious warmth of someone trying to connect but not knowing how. His arms wrapped around my waist again, same as the last time, but tighter. You're miles away, he said into my neck. I miss you. I shut off the water. His breath tickled my skin, but I felt cold anyway. I hated myself for pulling away, gently, like an excuse, but I did. I'm just tired, I said. He stepped back. I could feel the tension thicken between us like humid air before a storm. Later, in bed, he tried again. His hand found my thigh under the covers. His fingers traced soft circles, patient, careful. Not demanding. But still, my chest tightened. I didn't move. I didn't lean in. I didn't push him away either. I just stayed still, hoping he'd notice the difference. Elise, he whispered. I turned toward him. In the dark, his eyes were searching, his mouth close to mine. He kissed me, slow, tender, but I felt nothing. No rush. No flutter. Just the dry echo of what kisses used to mean. I kissed him back, because I thought maybe I could fake my way into feeling it. I couldn't. His hand slid higher, an invitation, but inside me, something shrank. I gently took his wrist. Marcus. I can't. He looked up. Can't or don't want to? I don't know, I said honestly. I wish I did. He rolled away then, facing the other wall. No anger. Just silence. That might have been worse. I stared at the ceiling, blinking back tears I couldn't explain. I wanted to want him. I wanted to reach out and pull him back and press myself against him until we remembered who we were. But I couldn't fake it anymore. My body didn't lie as well as my voice did. He said nothing for a long time. Then, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, Elise. You say you want closeness. I try. You pull away. I feel like I'm on eggshells. I stared at the ceiling. It's not about sex. I didn't say it was. You didn't have to. He exhaled sharply. Then what is it about? Because I'm trying here. And all I get is silence and cold shoulders and you looking at me like I'm a stranger in my own marriage. His voice cracked on the last word. Marriage. Like saying it out loud made it heavier. I swallowed. I'm sorry. It was the only thing I could say that didn't feel like a lie. He turned his face into the pillow. I feel like you're punishing me for something I don't understand. I didn't answer. I waited until his breath evened out and he fell asleep. And I lay there beside him, wide awake, resentful, ashamed, asking myself the same thing I'd asked every night for weeks: why does everything have to turn into sex? It happened over takeout. We were eating lo mein from paper containers in the living room. My dad had gone to bed early, coughing fits were worse now, and I needed something mindless. Marcus had found a comedy on Netflix, something slapstick and stupid. I didn't care. I just didn't want silence. The silence between us had grown a shape. Heavy. Breathing. He was trying. I could see it. He poured wine. He made little jokes. He reached for my hand once, and I let him take it, even though the feel of his thumb circling mine made my whole body clench, not from fear, but from pressure. The pressure to be okay. "You remember that Thai place on Ashland?" he said, halfway through dinner. "The one with the rooftop? We should go back when you're home again." Home. He said it like it still belonged to both of us. I nodded, even smiled a little, but something twisted in my chest. I couldn't name it yet. It was sharp and hot and old. Maybe resentment. Maybe grief. Then he said, too casually, "I was thinking maybe your dad could come live with us. If things get worse, we could make it work." I dropped my fork. The clang was louder than I expected, and I startled like I'd broken something. Marcus blinked. "What? You want him to move in with us?" My voice was too high, too brittle. "I mean, yeah. Why not? We've got the guest room. And I could work remote more if—" "No, Marcus," I said. Louder now. "You don't get it." He looked stunned. "I'm trying to help." "No, you're trying to control something you don't understand." I stood, suddenly pacing, heart pounding like I'd been holding it in a chokehold. "You think this is about logistics? About rooms and wine and takeout and sex?" My voice cracked. He stood too, eyes narrowing. "What do you want from me, Elise? I'm bending in every direction trying to meet you halfway and you keep, what, punishing me for touching you? For loving you? This isn't love." I shouted. The room fell silent. Just the TV buzzing in the background, laugh track still playing, too cheerful, too cruel. He took a step back like I'd hit him. "So what is it, then?" And that's when it broke open. "I'm watching my father die, Marcus," I said, sobbing now, hands shaking. "He's fading right in front of me. And all I can think about is how easy it was to walk away from you. How you didn't even ask me to stay. Not once. You just let me go. Like I was a backpack you'd grown tired of carrying." He said nothing. "You say you're trying. You bring flowers. You touch me. But you don't see me. You don't ask what I'm feeling. You don't sit with me in the dark when I'm breaking. You just try to fix me. Or fuck me. Or feed me." "I didn't know," he said softly. "That's the point." I cried. "You don't know. You haven't asked." He looked gutted. Like something had been stripped from him. "I'm sorry," he said. But it was too late. The words bounced off of me. I sank to the couch, hands in my hair, sobbing into my knees like a child. And he just stood there. Helpless. Watching. Eventually, he went to the kitchen. Cleaned up in silence. Took the wine glasses to the sink. I sat there, trembling. Hollow. After he went to bed, the couch again, I stayed up. Sat on the floor. Cross-legged. Staring at the tulips. They were starting to wilt. I touched one gently. The petal fell into my palm. And all I could think was, this is what happens when something beautiful stays too long in a place it can't breathe. I felt guilt, then. And shame. For how I'd screamed. For how I'd hurt him. For how badly I wanted to be alone. But beneath it, something else. Clarity. When my father asked me to come home, to help him die with dignity, I said yes. But I think what I was really saying yes to, was the permission to feel something again. Even if it shattered everything. The days blurred. We moved around each other like ghosts, familiar shapes, no substance. He made coffee in the morning. I poured it. We exchanged weather-level small talk. Once, he brushed my shoulder passing me in the hallway, and I almost cried from how gentle it was. How accidental. Marcus stopped trying. And that broke me in a quieter, deeper way than all the rest. He stayed for 3 more days after the fight. Helped with my dad, who was mostly bedbound by then, but he didn't touch me again. Not my hand. Not my waist. Not even the curve of my back, where he used to rest his palm like it belonged there. He gave me space, and I hated him for it. But more than that, I hated that I needed it. Sometimes I caught him looking at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. There was no blame in his face, just fatigue. Resignation. A kind of gentle grief. Like he was already practicing how to let me go. He left early Monday morning. Said he needed to prep for his lectures. He didn't kiss me goodbye. Didn't ask when I'd be home. Just stood in the doorway with his overnight bag and said, "Call me if you need anything." I nodded. I didn't say I miss you. I didn't ask him to stay. And he left. The house went even quieter after that. My father's breathing was all I could hear most days. And at night, the hum of medical machines that sounded far too much like endings. I found Marcus's flannel draped over a chair 2 days later. It smelled like him, citrus soap and worn cotton and something else I could never quite name. I buried my face in it and sobbed so hard I gave myself a headache. God, I missed him. Not just his body. Not just the sex I kept rejecting. I missed his bad puns and his habit of narrating while he cooked. I missed how he always watched my face when I told stories, like he was trying to memorize me. I missed his steadiness, how he never flinched when I panicked or spiraled. I missed the man I couldn't let touch me. And I didn't know how to come back from that. The guilt sat heavy. It pressed on my lungs like a second gravity. Because I knew, somewhere deep in private, that I'd pushed him away not because he failed me, but because I didn't know how to stay open while grieving. I'd treated his affection like an attack. His comfort like pressure. His patience like failure. And still, he had tried. I started writing him a message 3 times. Deleted all of them. Once, I even dialed. Let it ring twice. Hung up. I told myself I needed more time. But what I really needed was courage. Courage to say, "I'm sorry." Courage to say, "I want to try again, if you'll let me." But also, only if we start from where we really are. Not where we used to be. That night, I sat beside my dad's bed. He was half asleep, breathing shallow, fingers twitching in his lap. I thought about the way Marcus had held those same hands, helped my father eat soup, cleaned up after him without complaint. He hadn't just come for me. He had come for us. And I had almost sent him away for good. So I did the one thing that scared me most. I opened my phone. Typed, "I miss you." Not the version I wanted you to be. Just, you. Can we talk? I stared at it. Thumb hovering. Then I hit send. I didn't know if that meant trying again. But it meant I wasn't walking away. Not yet. Marcus replied that same night. Yeah. I'd like that. He didn't add a heart. Or a joke. Just simple words, steady and clear. We met at a diner halfway between my dad's house and our apartment. Neutral ground. I wore no makeup. He wore that same worn blue hoodie that always made him look boyish, tired, soft. We didn't hug right away. We sat across from each other in the booth, and for a minute, we just looked. He spoke first. "I didn't know how to show up in a way you needed. I didn't know how to tell you," I said. Our hands sat close on the table but didn't touch. He stirred his coffee slowly. "I wanted to fix everything for you. And when I couldn't, I felt useless. Like love wasn't enough." I swallowed. Sometimes I felt smothered. And then, abandoned. At the same time, that's not your fault. That's just what grief did to me. He nodded. I kept trying to reach you with my body because I didn't know how to reach you any other way. I let that settle between us. We talked for an hour. About things we should have said months ago. Things that were too heavy to carry alone, but too fragile to throw down in anger. When the check came, he insisted on paying. Old habits. Outside, the cold air startled me. He walked me to my car. No pressure. Just presence. At the door, he paused. Elise, do you think we can come back from this? I stared at him. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to believe we could build something stronger, something softer, on the ashes of whatever we burned down. But I was tired of reaching for the easy answer. I don't know, I said. But I know I don't want to keep pretending we're okay when we're not. He looked relieved, strangely. Like truth was more comforting than hope. Me neither. I stepped closer and wrapped my arms around him. Not romantic. Not desperate. Just real. He held me. Warm, still, familiar. My face against his chest, the beat of a heart I used to know by rhythm alone. I pulled back first. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, careful, reverent. Like something sacred he wasn't sure belonged to him anymore. I'll call you, I said. I'd like that. Then I got in the car and drove home. I didn't cry. I didn't spiral. I just drove in silence, tulips still on the passenger seat, the last ones he gave me before they wilted. When my father asked me to come home, I said yes. I didn't know then how many other things I'd have to say goodbye to along the way. Some loves don't end with betrayal. They end with distance. With exhaustion. With kindness that arrives too late. And sometimes, that's still love. Just not the kind that stays. You want to know the hardest part? It wasn't the moment Marcus walked away. Or when my dad stopped recognizing my face. Or even the nights I lay in bed beside a man I loved and felt like a locked door. It was realizing I had changed, and not knowing if I deserved to be loved as that version of myself. See, when my father asked me to come home, to care for him, to hold his hand while the world slowly left him, I said yes because I thought it was the right thing to do. But I didn't know that yes would unravel me. I didn't know it would make me resent Marcus for needing me while I was losing the first man who ever knew me. I didn't know it would make me question whether love is supposed to feel like safety or surrender, and what to do when it feels like neither. I've always believed in love that stays. Love that fights. Love that shows up with dinner and flowers and bad jokes after long days. But I've learned that love is not the same as closeness. And closeness is not the same as connection. I used to think if someone wanted me, physically, urgently, that meant they saw me. That I mattered. But when Marcus touched me in those last months, I felt hollow. Not because he didn't love me, but because I had stopped loving myself in a way I couldn't name. My grief built a wall around my body, and he kept knocking, gently at first, then harder. I know now that he was saying let me in. And I kept saying, not like that. But I never said what I meant. What I meant was, hold me without wanting anything from me. Sit with me in the dark and don't try to turn on the light. Let me be broken. Let me be ugly. Let me grieve without needing to be fixed. He didn't know how. And I didn't know how to teach him. So, we drifted. And maybe that's okay. Not every love story ends with one final betrayal or some clean exit wound. Some just dissolve from silence, from timing, from being human in the wrong season. I think I'll always love him, in a quiet, unfinished way. I think he was good. And I was good. And we still lost each other. What I've learned is this: desire without understanding feels like pressure. Touch without presence feels like performance. And love without honesty, from either side, can start to feel like suffocation. But also this, it's okay to outgrow the people you once thought were your forever. It's okay to ask for more than being held, to want to be known. To be met in your own language. And if someone can't meet you there, that doesn't make them cruel. It just makes them wrong for that version of you. So no, Marcus and I didn't make it. But we tried. We loved as best we could with the tools we had. And sometimes, that has to be enough. Now, when I think of him, I don't think of the fights. I think of the night he helped my father eat, spoon by spoon, and made jokes between coughs just to make us both laugh. I think of his hands in the garden that spring, helping me replant everything I thought had died. I think of how he kissed my forehead before I drove away, and how we both knew that was goodbye, even if neither of us said it out loud. Love taught me what I need. Grief taught me I'm allowed to ask for it. And saying yes to my father, that was the beginning of learning how to say yes to myself. Even when it meant saying no, to someone I used to believe was home.